Savage.
All right. How's everybody doing today? Can you see me? Can you hear me? We're going to talk about foreshadowing in One Piece. This was highly suggested in the last stream for 1010. We knew we were going on break this week. And, I threw a suggestion out. Obviously, the last time we had a break, we did the old theory stream. And that was a lot of fun. So we wanted to get the community together again. And now, collectively, we're going to talk about some of the best moments of foreshadowing in the series. We're going to break down, what makes this stuff great. That's sort of the plan here. And we're just going to celebrate Oda for, being Oda. If you want to take a look at famous movies and things like that, examples of foreshadowing, like one of my favorite movies, probably my favorite movie, Terminator 2. An example of foreshadowing would be when the T-1000 is in the mall and he sees a mannequin that looks exactly like his transformation. About 20 minutes before he actually transforms into his liquid metal form. That's foreshadowing. The Dark Knight. That Terminator 1, that's an example of visual foreshadowing. You take a movie like The Dark Knight, when they're sitting at that dinner table and they have the dialogue that says, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. That is dialogue foreshadowing. All right? There are many different types of foreshadowing. There's many different ways to do it. Oda uses so many ways. So many great ways to do it. I'm going to take a look at the chat to see how everybody's doing, see who we have in here today. We got this on a lovely weekend here. Hope everybody's enjoying their Saturday. For some people in the chat, it may already be Sunday. But let's see. We got Prototype Virgo's in here. What's up, my man? Let's see. Yeah, we got a lot of people in here. We got I'm D King in here, saying he's got work in half an hour, but this should be a fun stream. Thanks for dropping by, man. Let's see. Atomic Ambition, eagerly waiting this stream. We got Galaxy in here. Reese is in here. This is fun. DJ BJ32, thank you for the 100 emoji.
Savage.
Yo. Alright, guys. So, obviously, like I said, we know that Oda is a master of foreshadowing. Okay? Some people are saying that this should be an analysis video. Yeah, after we do this, there can be a video where we actually put the images and all of that. But this is supposed to be a community experience, where I'll start talking about some stuff, you'll start bringing it up, and then as a community, we'll all sort of kind of create maybe a definitive list of the times that Oda has used foreshadowing in the series. All right? One of my favorite ones, everybody knows this one. You go back to chapter 19, you see the flashback between Shanks and Buggy, and there's Rayleigh. He's got the same, beard going on here. This is something that Oda had planned all the way then, and then in chapter 500, he introduces us to Rayleigh, all right? That's foreshadowing. That's planning, okay? That's setup and payoff. Okay, that's the whole idea of foreshadowing in the first place, is that it's supposed to be a reward for the reader, right? You're supposed to remember something that happened, or maybe it's something that just lays dormant. You don't necessarily need to remember it, but you remember it when it comes up, okay? And there's a lot of whoa moments in One Piece. You get to Thriller Bark and you see that Brook has a relationship with Laboon, and you're like, wait, hold on, the whale is important? And then you remember, oh wait, but then they actually said he was waiting for, 50 years for this pirate crew to come back. And then lo and behold, we meet one of them. This is the kind of stuff that happens all the time. All the time. All the time. Sasad says Sanji being born in North Blue in the Jai arc. Yep, that's on my list. You know, the everything with Sanji. You know, I mean, you go back to Rain Dinners, Rain Base, and you know, he uses the code name Mr. Prince, right? I mean, this is, then we get to Jaya. He says that he's from the North Blue, right? This whole time we think he's from the East Blue like everybody else. No, and that's something we just pocket. We just pocket that information. It doesn't become relevant until, you know, right before Whole Cake. He even says, oh yeah, I used to read Nolan the Liar, right? You go back to the flashback when he's a kid with all of the Vinsmokes, and there's a panel of him reading Nolan the Liar. You know, that's really more of a callback and all of that, but that's still, you know, that's the type of stuff that's set up, payoff, reward. Okay, we find out that Sanji is actually a prince. He's a prince of the Germa Kingdom. This is, you know, it's high-level stuff. It's great stuff. You know, and even in the Alabasta saga, you know, there's like, you have the scene in Little Garden. You know, when he's talking to Crocodile, that's the first time that, you know, we're really introduced to this Mr. Prince aspect. But there's also subtle foreshadowing going on throughout that with Sanji in that arc, which is one of my favorite elements, is how Sanji actually stays out of the spotlight, and he never gets noticed by Baroque Works until later on. That's sort of like a subtle sort of foreshadowing thing. You know, like when Mr. 2 gets onto the ship, Sanji's cooking. They go to Little Garden, Sanji goes off on his own, and he never actually meets Mr. 3. So he never gets his drawing done, you know, and that's what allows him to be able to be sneaky in Alabasta. You know, that's more of a plot thing and more of a writing thing, but that's still just something that I love about that whole Mr. Prince plot line. And then also, you know, I see here Ryan Earth 52 says Sanji's eyebrow in Little Garden. Yeah, so one of the biggest things of the community way back, you know, this even goes back to the old theories, is what is up with Sanji's eye? You know, why does he cover it and all of that? But if you go back to Little Garden, and he has that conversation with Crocodile, on the snail is his other eyebrow, the same way that it's shown to us post-time skip. So we were actually shown his eyebrow in Little Garden, but we still kept theorizing. And, you know, we didn't need to. Then we got Reese here, and back in Thriller Bark, Sanji said to Kuma that he was the most dangerous Straw Hat. Yeah, which led us to theorize, you know, like, okay, what could it be? You know, there were even theories that, you know, what if his family was, you know, a bunch of, you know, mafia or, you know, gangsters or, you know, things like that. And, you know, it wasn't too far off. You know, I remember that being a theory. Dale Villaren said that Robin wearing the straw hat in Whiskey Peak was a nice foreshadowing by Oda at that time. Yeah. She grabbed the straw hat. That was foreshadowing for Robin to join the crew. Yeah. We got Ryo in here. Yo, how's it going, man? Now my boy Remy D Gaming in here. If you like gaming stuff, go check out his channel. Looking back in here. All right. So, you know, another favorite thing of mine is, you know, you go back to Sabaody, right? Smiles were introduced. You know, these are, you know, we're talking about things that have come into play in like the recent year or so, right? You know, Doflamingo says the age of smiles is coming soon, you know, and you go back to when he was in Jaya and he fights Bellamy, and he's like, the new era is coming, right? The new era is what he was speaking about was this age of smiles and everything that he has going on with Kaido and all of that. We didn't know about any of that stuff until until everything came out with that. Remy D Gaming, congrats on 11K, road to 20K. Thank you, my man. Yep, we did hit 11K. Keep them going. Anybody in the chat, if you're not subscribed and you like this content, hit that button. All Hail the King says the smile thing was insane in hindsight. Yeah, because we didn't know what that was referring to. The age of smiles. We just thought that Doflamingo was a loon. We didn't know that smiles was a noun. That it was actually a thing. There's also a lot of foreshadowing in One Piece that has not come to fruition yet. And as we go through, we'll kind of figure those things out. Those are the things that we'll be able to come back to later. Like we still don't know what the Will of D is, right? But when we find out what that is, we'll be able to go back all the way to, the first instance of it in Drum when Kureha mentions it, and every other instance beyond that to say, like, this man has been foreshadowing it this long. Now, the longest thing that's been foreshadowed was Conqueror's Haki. Go back to chapter 1. Everybody knows this. But Oda has peppered, little bits of Haki knowledge all throughout. I've talked about it a lot on this channel, but, I fully believe that the Zoro versus Mr. One fight was full of Haki. Observation, armament, and Rio. So, that was like the start of everything. You go back to when, this is sort of tin foil and all of that, but you go back to that scene when Nami is sick, right? And she is completely out of it, but she's able to predict that tornado that's going to come. I really feel like that was observation Haki for Nami. It's too wild for her to have been that hurt, and then to be able to accurately call that and get everybody out of there. So at some point, I feel like Nami's going to unlock that. And I think that a lot of her weather powers are, it's kind of her like tapping into that in some way. You go to Skypiea. Mantra is really the first iteration of like Future Sight, and it seems kind of weird in hindsight to think that, idiots like Satori and Gadatsu and, all of Edel's priests had Future Sight. But, we've never really seen observation Haki until Katakuri actually predict what was going to happen. But, you look back at that fight with Satori, and he's sitting there like, oh, here comes a punch from the left arm. Here comes this. And we were introduced to several forms of observation Haki right there in that arc. Because you have the amplified version from Enel, using his lightning powers to hear the entire island. You have Isa that can also hear a lot of people, which, calls back to the same type of Haki that Kobe unlocks when he gets to Marineford. He starts hearing all of the voices. So, could that also tie into the voice of all things? Perhaps, but don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now when we're just talking about Haki. Cairo San, thank you for the super chat.
Savage.
And Bassiano T.
Savage.
Thank you. Luffy's been fighting, beating, taming, and intimidating beasts throughout the entire series. Now he's up against the King of Beasts. Yep. Oh yeah. You got that right. And it's a perfect battle for him. It's a perfect battle for him. And the fact that Kaido can turn into a dragon, and talking about Kaido, we got to talk about Momonosuke. Obviously, when we were introduced to Momonosuke, he had a fear of dragons, but he turned into a dragon himself. There was all the dialogue at the beginning of Dressrosa. You have Kinemon, and how he feels about dragons, and this was all foreshadowing leading up to the point where we learn that Kaido himself is an actual dragon and is the manifestation of their fears, and that's why all of those elements were peppered in throughout that time. Back to Haki real quick, just to cap that off a little bit. When we're introduced to Rokushiki, right? It's my belief that Tekkai is a form of armament Haki. It's sort of my headcanon, and Roku Ogan, Lucci's attack that he did on Luffy like that, where he actually like penetrates Luffy from the inside, that's got to be Rio. Oda wasn't drawing the black arms or anything at that time, but it's got to be there. It's got to be there. You can't tell me that those guys didn't know Haki. Looking back at the chat a little bit before we continue. Atomic Ambition said Minks on the Sabaody list. Yeah, you go back to that list, Sabaody, and you see all of the, confirmed races of the world, right? And Minks were on there, all the way back to, chapter 500 and something. And we didn't get introduced into the Minks until the, 300 plus chapters later. So he had this idea, but we were also introduced to characters. Like, obviously, we met Beppo and Sabaody, and he's confirmed to be a mink. So, there's that as well. People thought, did Beppo eat the polar bear fruit or something like that? No, he's just from a race of animal people. Yep. Chen said Nami has observation Haki. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, yeah, I believe so. I believe she just doesn't know how to use it, but that's really why she's such a good navigator. Luca Bertani says Boa's sister was also predicting Luffy's moves. Yes, that's true. Back in Amazon Lily, so to correct myself there, so they were using a form of future Haki, future sight Haki at that time as well. Chin said Luffy's Captain John treasure armband for Buggy. Yeah, just a random thing that he picked up out of the treasure at what was that, Thriller Bark when he got it, and then we see Buggy looking for Captain John's treasure in a skull-shaped island, and that's what gets him captured to impel down. And then when they finally meet up again, Buggy notices that the armband is what will lead him to Captain John's treasure, which is also foreshadowing for Buggy to eventually actually find Captain John's treasure. And considering he was on a skull island, we do know that Blackbeard's, the island that Blackbeard is currently on is shaped like a skull as well. Beehive Island, Pirates Island, whatever you want to call it. So could that eventually lead Buggy to Blackbeard's island to actually find Captain John's treasure? Potentially. Then, that'll close the loop on that foreshadowing. Let's see. We got 355 people in here. Welcome. If you like this content, hit subscribe. Yeah. So, moving on, we've talked about a lot of stuff already. Blackbeard's introduction. There was foreshadowing for him to be the villain and to actually be Blackbeard himself. There's the whole thing in the bar where Luffy and Blackbeard are fighting over the cherry pie, showing that they're, polar opposites in their thinking. We got a super chat from my guy Gio. Thank you, my man.
Savage.
Also referenced Smiles and Sabaody. He said the age of Smiles when Disco was complaining about the auction park going under. Yep, we talked about that a little earlier on. We went on a little bit about that. Talked about the Minx being on the Smiles list. I mentioned it earlier. I said it's actually one of my favorite things, that has come up in the past year, as like confirmed foreshadowing. Well, more than that, more than the past couple of years, but in the past year plus, we now know what Smiles exactly are. Brandon King, thank you.
Savage.
Dr. Herolook in episode 85, Pirates. They have bodies hard like stone, eyes like an eagle, and a voice that tears the sky asunder. Clearly foreshadowing Haki. Yeah, I actually had that on my list of things that I was going to bring up, and but I love that. Obviously, Herolook is talking, bodies hard like stone, armament, eyes like an eagle, Haki, and and even more precise after we saw that Usopp used his observation Haki to an eagle-like degree, and a voice that tears the sky asunder. That's Conquerors right there, and a voice that tears the skies asunder. We know that we have the all of the emperors can split the skies, so it seems like Conquerors Haki is probably the key to splitting the sky, right? So we'll probably get Sky Splitter Luffy pretty soon. Let's see. Yeah, Gio, it is insane foreshadowing. Insane. So let's see. Usopp's lies. It's a lot of foreshadowing there. He said that he went to a country of dwarves. Eventually, he does go to a country of dwarves. Sidebar, when we get the flashback of Noland and he's talking to kids, he talks about a country of dwarves. When we get to Dressrosa, they worship the man. There's some foreshadowing there. He talks about a giant goldfish, that poops islands. We meet that at the end of Little Garden. That's the giant goldfish that gets hit with the Hakoko sovereignty by the two giants. Then there's, of course, beautiful swords woman with meat, which was Rebecca in Dressrosa. There's so many, and there's so many that haven't actually come to pass, completely yet. Like him saying that he took out 10 giants by himself, which is kind of happening now, with the numbers. 8,000 followers, could be referring to the Tantada, but it could also be referring to what's happening now on Onigashima. He said that he was able to capture a dragon, which could be referring to Punk Hazard, but it could also be referring to TTK. We got to bring it in there. And of course, we're foreshadowing that has come up, recently. We got to talk about some stuff in Wano. Tama, right? Right when we meet Tama, Luffy says, "Wow, your power is useful." And as we see in Onigashima, her power is extremely useful. Yes. So, enter a name. Thank you for the super chat.
Savage.
The people in snow countries don't sleep line in Drum Island. Yeah, that's foreshadowing, and then ties into the Odin flashback when they talk about Blackbeard, as he does not, he didn't sleep. He did not sleep during the ceasefire or anything like that. But that's also one of the foreshadowings that needs to have a closed loop. We haven't had that close yet, so we don't understand understand exactly what the meaning is behind that, but we will once we learn more about Blackbeard. Jacob Watson said Luffy drawing Frankie way before he was introduced is pretty great. Yeah, so Luffy says that he wants to get a ship right, and he's like, I want him to look like this, and then he draws a guy with like big arms and like sunglasses, and it looks like he's not wearing any pants. Now, this has also helped because the anime actually like colored the scene to look a little more like Frankie. You know, when it was in the manga, it's just black and white, so it's like, we can't really determine what Luffy was drawing there. But, that's a fun one. It's a kind of a little bit of a stretch for me, but I know that it was definitely Oda's way of trying to sneak that in there. Let's see. King J, Randy, Kanjuro's drawing was a dragon. Ryunosuke foreshadowed him. So, I don't know if there are anime onlys in the chat right now, but I'm going to talk about some manga spoilers. So, you've been warned. Kanjuro was a huge thing, and if you ask, I wasn't making videos at the time, but if you ask anybody that I know that I talk with One Piece about, I was saying that Kanjuro was a traitor for a very long time, and Chrissy can definitely back that up. Because when we see Kanjuro, right, when we first meet him, it's very obvious that he is right-handed. He's got his sword on the right hand. He's like, he has like this laissez-faire attitude, like, oh, hey, Kinemon, yeah, I wasn't really waiting for you to come pick me up, but okay. But then whenever we see him draw, he uses his left hand. And then, we know that Momonosuke has like a fear of dragons. Kinemon has a problem with dragons. They get to Zou. The first thing that that Kanjuro draws is a dragon, and then he continuously is like trying to like sabotage them getting up there in a way. So there's so much foreshadowing for Kanjuro to have been the traitor, and then you go back to the Oden flashback, and you see them talk about how weird he was and things like that, and there's just a lot of great stuff with Kanjuro. Ray Kaminari, this is kind of fun. He says this is kind of headcanon, but other than Sanji, the only two people who had lit his cigarette are Pedro and Ace. Both died due to heat or fire. Also, the brand Sanji smokes is death. I didn't actually put that together, but that's great. I don't necessarily think that that's foreshadowing. I don't think that the next time someone lights Sanji's cigarette, we should be jumping on the this person's gonna die train, unless it happens 3 times. But that's kind of fun. And then speaking of Ace, we might as well go on a tangent about Ace, right? We know that there was a lot of people know this, that there was a color spread, where they're all playing poker, and Luffy has the Ace of Spades, and then in his other hand he's holding a card with Brook's skull face on it, and it says death, and then he's making a face that looks eerily similar to the face he makes when Ace dies. So that's like one of those like weird things that you can go back and it's like, this is Oda, you're a sneaky troll for this one. And that's why people like really analyze color spreads looking for stuff. Because not only did he do that, but he also had a color spread where it was just Luffy, Usopp, and Robin, and then there was text in another language that said going away. And it was right before Water 7, and, you know, both of them left the crew at the time. So there's, you know, there's stuff for that. Ace's tattoo, right? You know, a lot of people, I'm actually surprised, you know, when I talk to some people that they don't realize that the S, you know, the crossed out S on Ace's tattoo was actually a reference to Sabo and his flag. And, you know, I've mentioned this to some people, and then they've also said, but how would Ace know that? Because he didn't see Sabo get attacked by the Celestial Dragons. Right, but then he got a letter from Sabo, and Sabo signed it with S and then the X through it also. So, now, Sabo's existence in itself is, you know, a lot of people argue that it's an ass pull, kind of came out of nowhere. But, you know, then you have things like you go to Logetown, and there's a guy that eerily looks like Sabo wearing a top hat watching Luffy's execution. And, you know, and then you put two and two together that, like, well, Dragon was there too. So, you know, and Sabo's the second in command, so, you know, it would make sense for him to be there. But then you jump down this rabbit hole of, well, you know, why didn't that jumpstart Sabo's, you know, memory and, you know, all of that, and you just sort of, you get lost in some contrivances, and there are contrivances surrounding Sabo's existence. You know, he's basically just the replacement brother, but it's not like Oda didn't have it planned, you know. He at least had it planned that someone close to Ace was going to have an S name to make that tattoo relevant. All right, let's see what's up with the chat. Don Quixote D. Joker. Enel lit Sanji up. Yeah, it's like my favorite Sanji moment. How can I forget that? Thanks for the light. So, Rei Kaminari. If Enel dies, then your theory is right. Yeah. Let's see. Cairo-san says, literally asked that Sabo question earlier, even though you didn't see it. I got my answer. Like that. Yeah, I didn't see your thing earlier, but I'm glad that I got to it. Chin says 400 people and only 130 likes. Come on, man. Yeah, come on, man. Evo Warrior 5. Yep, this is a great one. Ace saying that he learned how to make Orz's hat and Wano was a good one too. Yeah. And then we get the Tama flashback, and he's shown how, you know, to sew the hats and all of that. So we get a closed loop there. There's also so much Wano foreshadowing. You go back to Thriller Bark, obviously with Ryuma, which also ties back to Wanted, which was Oda's first one-shot, where he did the story about Ryuma cutting the dragon's head off, which has led people to crazy Zoro theories over the years. Then, we had learned about Kaido and Big Mom. They were foreshadowed by Garp in Post Denny's Lobby, but we learned more about Kaido through Moria when he talked about how Kaido is responsible for killing all of his crew, which we then get a panel of Kaido versus Moria in the Oden flashback, which might be fun to see animated. Maybe they'll flesh that out a little bit. That should be coming in the next couple of episodes. And Moria also saying that, warning Luffy about losing his crew. That you can lose your crew in an instant and all of this. And, what happens in the following arc? Luffy loses his entire crew. They all get sent away. Now, they didn't die, but, that was still sort of Oda's way of foreshadowing through dialogue, similar to what we talked about earlier when I referenced The Dark Knight. That what someone said came to pass. He warned Luffy that you could lose your crew if you're not ready. Luffy wasn't ready, he lost his crew. Which, led to them obviously working together to get ready after that. Ryo said Shimotsuki Village. Yeah. So the island that Zoro grew up on, the dojo that he worked at, was Shimotsuki Village. And then, of course, we learn about the Shimotsuki clan. We get to Wano. And in an SBS recently, Oda confirmed that Kuina and Koshiro, Zoro's master, are part of the Shimotsuki clan. So, Kuina was Shimotsuki Kuina. That's her full name. Which has led a lot of people to speculate that Zoro could also be a member of the Shimotsuki clan, and that possibly his father was a Roanoa, but his mother was a Shimotsuki. It's all possibilities. It's all possible. King J says every Randy Troy theory is a foreshadowing of what's going to happen in coming chapters. Oh man, yeah, I've seen a lot of comments that I'm the Nostradamus of the One Piece community now. Sabo's the only good revolutionary commander. I don't know. I mean, design-wise, I really like Lindbergh, but we'll see. Let's see. Raul D. Gomez, hey, Randy, do you think the frozen people of Punk Hazard is foreshadowing the numbers? Possibility. We know that from Big Mom, she said that the numbers were byproducts of something that happened on Punk Hazard. So that those could be the failed versions. They could be failed experiments, but they were all sort of in jail garb, weren't they? I mean, I could be wrong on that. I'm trying to remember, but it all looked like they were wearing prison outfits. I'm gonna have to look back at that. Nope. Tama being in the color spread with the straw hats. Yep, we've talked about that when the chapter came out a couple chapters ago with the Tama. Yeah, what was that, 1009? Yep. It's definitely foreshadowing right there. Mario776, yeah, this was on my list. Momo saying that he met Roger and Zoe foreshadowed the time travel stuff. Yeah. So Momo on Zoe, he says, oh yeah, I met Roger and, his crew when I was little, but my memory is fuzzy at best about that. Then 200 chapters later, Kinemon says... We've traveled 20 years into the future. Justin O'Malley, best foreshadowing is that Luffy says he'll be the Pirate King. I still think it could happen, maybe. That's another foreshadowing that we'll be able to go back to chapter 1 and say, man, he foreshadowed this all the way back then. I believe that that's going to happen. All right, looking at my list. This is fun, right? So when we go back to like chapter 3, 4, whatever, when we're in Shellstown, and Kobe finally they've taken out Morgan, and Kobe's about to join the Marines, and the guy that lets him into the Marines, accuses him of potentially being a spy, for pirates, saying that, there's a lot of pirate crews that put spies into the military and all of that. And this is foreshadowing on several levels, right? Because obviously we know that Kobe is now a spy himself within the Marines for Sword, but also that Virgo was a pirate in the Marines that was a spy for Doflamingo. Corazon was a spy. Drake is a spy. So there's a lot to that, and that was something that was foreshadowed in the first volume. So that one I really like. Sanji wanting invisibility, right? Going back to Thriller Bark. And then in Wano, he finally gets invisibility. That's a fun gag there. Speaking of gags, obviously there's, the foreshadowing with Sanji's wanted poster and then Duval's face. That's a gag too. But, it's something that just has a setup and then it has a payoff. So, we're talking about foreshadowing things, but then we're just talking about really great payoffs within the series. Enter a name says Kurozumi Zoro washes his hair and we see his purple roots showing. I was wrong the whole time. He wasn't Tama's dad. He was Zoro's dad. Mateo with the super chat, thank you.
Savage.
King's Race will be revealed during the raid or the Kaido flashback. Possibly, yeah. Big Mom saying that King's Race is something that she doesn't have on Tataland implies that it's probably not one of the races that was on the Sabaody list, at the auction house. But, who knows, right? We'll see what happens with that. And then of course Arlong Park, right? Shabandi Park, Sabaody Park. That's a great payoff. You go back and you realize that Arlong built this monument because he wanted to sort of stick it to the people on the archipelago that wouldn't let him go into the theme park. But he made his house look just like it. Man, I love that stuff. And then the Sun Pirates tattoo, right? We see that, Nami and Arlong have the Arlong mark on their arms, and Arlong's kind of has it on his wrist or whatever, but everybody's got the Sun Pirates tattoo. And we don't see that until, we meet Jinbei, and then eventually we learn what that means, right? But we also get even more build up with that when we meet Hancock, because Hancock introduces us to the Dragon's Hoof, and the concept of slavery and all of that, and then we learn about Fisher Tiger and that, the Sun Pirates tattoo is actually their way of getting rid of that mark, that stamp. But Hancock's tattoo is also possibly foreshadowing for her to eventually get pulled back into slavery, and the Celestial Dragons reclaiming their property. Because that's something that you set up and then you have payoff later. And now with everything going on between Hancock and Kobe, that's something that could actually happen. Yeah. Another super chat from Mateo. Thank you.
Savage.
I had to squeeze that one in. Which one do you think? Will we get King's Race during the raid or during the flashback? more likely that it'll come out in dialogue between, when we get more of the fight between King and Marco, or if he does end up fighting Zoro or anything like that, it may come out through that. If Kaido's flashback fleshes out his crew and isn't really just about like his time on rocks and like stuff with Yamato, we could see it in the flashback. But I don't necessarily expect Kaido's flashback to spend too much time on the commanders. That's that. Unless Oda decides to give King his own, 2-page flashback like he did with Katakuri. Kaido-sama says Tama's the next Straw Hat. You bet she is. And Momonosuke. They're going to join together. They're going to be like Buggy and Shanks on Roger's crew. Orhan Ozcan. Randy, do you think Kid defeats Big Mom? Or he gets a reality check like Eka Moria did when Kaido and Moria fought when they were rivals? Well, that's not really what this stream is about. But I don't think that Kid is going to beat Big Mom. I think that Big Mom's got way too much stuff to do in this arc and is probably going to be defeated last or on a different island after doing something devastating. But I really don't think Big Mom is leaving this arc without a sizable body count. She's gonna take someone very important out, or steal their soul. Either way. Skypea, thank you for the super chat.
Savage.
What kind of foreshadowing do you think would be effective in the live action show? Like seeing the wanted posters of future crews in newspapers. So I talked about this, in the part 1 live action video that, they can do things like put wanted posters in bars of people like Kid and Law, supernovas. They can do things like show us Baroque Works tattoos ahead of time. We could see some Baroque Works tattoos roaming around Logetown. There's a lot of stuff like that. I'm going to have a completely separate video, spoilers on live action part 5, but it's going to be all about how the live action can foreshadow Haki and utilize that. So that's what part 5 is going to be. Part 4 is done. So just so everybody knows, everybody in the chat, live action part 4 is done, and it's going to come out in the next couple of days. I'm going to set it as a premiere, so we can have a chat going like we did for casting part 1, so everybody can comment live as it's going on, so that's fun. We had a lot of fun when we did that the first time, so, I hope to see everybody in there. Maybe, we can do that tomorrow, we can do that Monday. Whatever works best for people. Let me know in the chat if you like things on Sundays, or if Monday works better. Spread the streams out, in my opinion. But yeah. DJ BJ32.
Savage.
Odin wouldn't be Odin if it's not boiled. And then you know what happens to Odin? He gets boiled. It's foreshadowing. We got Po'boy57, thank you.
Savage.
Foreshadowing of Tangayama's relationship to Vegapunk. Bumbuku is the connection. Potentially, yeah, because obviously we know that Vegapunk is the one who figured out how to create that connection of animals eating devil fruits or objects eating devil fruits. So, these objects turning into animals. So yeah, there's a connection there, but if there's a connection there also, there has to be a connection between Lasso, Mr. Four's dog, and Vegapunk as well. So it depends on if what Vegapunk did is completely proprietary or if it's something that you can accidentally create happen. Like, does it need human interference, or did they drop a devil fruit into the teapot, and then it just, it was boiling water, and then it, turned into bumbuku. There's that, but there's also, a connection there. Obviously, we anybody who's seen the Tama theory knows that, we are, we're pretty much team Tegayama is Sukiyaki over here. And I believe that Sukiyaki was held captive by Orochi for quite some time, Sukiyaki being Oden's father. And we know that Orochi has a connection to Vegapunk and through CP0 and all of that, so it's possible that, Tegayama Hitetsu, whether he's Sukiyaki or not, has some sort of a connection to Orochi. Bumbuku may have been with Orochi at some point and then was stolen. There's a lot of things about that. We'll see how deep Oda wants to go in on Bumbuku later on. But yeah, that's great. Brandon King said, what's the original name of Onigashima? That's foreshadowing that hasn't panned out yet, but at some point will pan out, We got a super chat of $50 Canadian from Najib. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Savage.
He said Usopp's number one. We talked about a lot of Usopp's lies earlier. Another thing that was actually foreshadowed by Usopp was his bounty. Because when Luffy got his first bounty, it was 30 million berries, right? Usopp gets his first bounty, it was 30 million berries. But when Luffy got his, Usopp said, because he was pointing at his face in the corner, he was like, well, I think this is actually my bounty. And then what does Oda do? He gives Usopp exactly the exact same bounty as Luffy later on. Let's see. What's some other good Usopp foreshadowing? Because we already talked about all the lies, pretty much. I mean, his observation, Haki was great. Blooming in the heat of battle there. The toad oil, right? That was a great foreshadowing that just happened recently. He's selling toad oil. He says that it will heal all wounds, and then we get Toko trying to use it on Tonoyasu. Ugh. The heartstrings. You just want to punch Usopp for that one. Yeah. And then we have Usopp shooting Dangos now. So, I still feel he's going to be instrumental in all of this. Don Quixote D. Joker, Teapot's the ancient weapon. Everybody's going in on the teapot. Reinhard, hello. Any updates on the live action One Piece? No, there are no updates on that. But I will be putting out my, who I think should play Baroque Works and Season 2 Alabasta Saga Drum, things like that. That video will be coming out soon. Oh, we got Mr. Morge in here. That's why everybody's. Well, welcome to the party, Mr. Morge. Yeah, we're talking about teapots in here. Morge made it to 100K. Okay, we got Scoro saying congrats to Mr. Morge. Congrats to Mr. Morge. Andrew Hunter, Randy's teapot talk. Mr. Morge, this man's spitting. Oh man. Galaxy Vito, Usopp and his lies about the giant goldfish. Yeah, we talked about that. And the Hokoko sovereignty. Everything with that. Yeah. We're getting some fun cameos today, guys. We're getting some fun cameos. So, moving on. We got Water 7, right? When we first meet Yokozuna, he's trying to stop the sea train. Then, obviously, we get to Frankie's flashback, and he is... we learn why he's trying to stop the sea train. It's another element of foreshadowing. Obviously, that was because Frankie tried to do it, and then, living up to that, he wanted to do that. That's one of those sad moments when when you see all of that stuff happening. Mr. Morge still in here. What's one of your favorite foreshadowings in One Piece? Should let the chat know. Let's see. Got another early one. Luffy just saying how many members of the crew he wants. He says he wants to have about 10 members. If you include himself, he has that now. If you don't include himself, then he's got one more member to get. But he kept saying over and over again that he wanted to have a musician, right? That's foreshadowing Brook. And that was one of the last members that he got. Another recent one, get the Tamate Mago box, the Tamate Bako box. We're introduced to that in Fishman Island. He gives it to Big Mom, and then we have this sort of ticking time bomb of a ticking time bomb, waiting for that to finally go off, and then it does when we get to the tea party, right? And it doesn't go off the way that we thought. It was going to blow up and blow up in Big Mom's face, anything like that. No, we have Dufeld going off and trying to steal it, but it is responsible for, sort of saving most of the people involved by, ruining her castle in a way. Evil Warrior 5, Randy, how do you justify thinking both Tama and Momo join if Luffy only wanted 10 members, 11 including him? Because they're apprentices, right? So so they would be, you'd have 10 or 11 including him, actual members, and then 2 apprentices. So there's that. Apprentices don't count. Red X, Morge, and Randy collab when? Andrew Hunter, we need a collab between Mr. Morge and Randy. There's a lot of stuff about that in the chat here. That's, let the man know what you want. Evil Warrior 5, that's Apprentices. That's a good one. It's a good one. Pablo Calderon, the Celestial Dragons wearing spacesuits is possible foreshadowing. Yeah. Obviously, we know that there's moon stuff going on. Enel's on the moon. Everything in regards to that is foreshadowing for something later on that we don't know yet, right? Frankie stealing the money, right? But then later using it to build the Sunny. We know that there, in the background, we knew that there was all of this money that was still sort of up in the air and it was spent on something, right? Boom. He spent it on the stuff to build the ship. Setup, payoff. Setup, payoff. Enter a name.
Savage.
Thank you. Kid saying that he was taking down Shanks was foreshadowing he was about to get rocked. Yeah, right. Exactly. RN says Tama plus Vivi plus Smoker. Yeah, so Tama's going to be there. Vivi's definitely coming back. Smoker, I think that he'll just be an ally, in the final war. I think that he's going to get upset with the world government and he'll be on Luffy's side. But I don't believe that he'll ever call himself a pirate, though. Chin says, Randy, your list, still waiting. I've been going off of my list this entire time. Yeah. Let's see. Shanks, Spark Jester says Shanks and Buggy getting off before Laughtail is foreshadowing no apprentices beyond a certain point. Well, we'll find out if Tama and Momo do or do not make it to the last island. But we talked a little bit about chapter 19 and that flashback, but then having that also come back, that callback of them fighting over the North Pole and the South Pole, and then seeing that in the Odin flashback, and then being right next to Water 7, that's just fun. There's setup and payoff there. It's fun stuff. Ryo.
Savage.
Koala. #savage. Yeah. We were introduced to Koala in the Fisher Tiger flashback. And she spends all of this time with Fisher Tiger and all that, whose ideals and everything were pretty revolutionary to begin with, right? For her only to grow up and join the Revolutionary Army. That's another setup and payoff. We meet this girl. We think she means nothing. A couple hundred chapters later or whatever, 150 chapters later, we meet her as an adult. And she's tied to one of the major organizations and one of, one of the top characters. She's over here working for Luffy's dad. Definitely need more Koala in the series. Rojal Shrestra.
Savage.
Talk about the moon. Theories on that, please. So the moon. The moon's an interesting thing. I don't have a lot of theories on everything that's going on with the moon, but you go back and you look at the NL cover story, right? You see what he's what he's learning about, and you see that they've got spacesuits, they've got these robots here. Could we go to the moon? Is this going to be like the there's a funny joke in just in film and the film industry and movies and TV shows that a dying franchise goes to space, and this was a joke going back to cartoons in the 80s and things like that. It's like, and it eventually became a joke that was funny to itself. And obviously the Fast and the Furious saga, in those films, I've been joking that at some point they were going to go to space. That's a joke that's been going on between some of my friends and I. And now recently they came out with a trailer. Fast and the Furious is going to space. You had the Josie and the Pussycats cartoon in the 80s, and then it was Josie and the Pussycats Go to Space. It was the sequel to it. So many things, so many weird things go to space. One Piece goes to space. Are we going to the moon? Possibly. Is that where Laughtail is? Maybe. We don't know. Is that why no one can find it? How do you get up there? What is it? What's the thing? What drew Anel to going to space in the first place? Is there something that the Birkins know about the fairy Verth that we don't know yet? And we know that Arouge is also from the same island that Enel came from, so does he know something about the moon? Is that how Arouge is going to actually play into the story? Is that he'll be, he'll have something to do with the moon when we get there? But, there's some sort of a devil fruit tree. Is there something that is related to the moon and how devil fruits are created? It's one of those things where we could speculate on for a long time, and we can throw a lot of stuff at the wall, but we don't have enough to really hit yet. So, we have some things, sure, but it's not concrete enough for me to make a theory on the moon, like as if I could go into all of the stuff with Law and Kobe and Drake and say that Law is potentially a member of SWORD. Or to go into, Tama and think about, foreshadowing and think about storytelling and say, like, well, there's a possibility that Tama's a Korazumi. I could say things about the moon, but it's too early. We're too early for that, to quote Roger. Maxo, thank you for the super chat.
Savage.
A dying franchise goes to space. Brother, I'm not gonna die. Yep. So is that where Roger is? Roger's in space? That's where he really went after, he said his goodbyes to Rayleigh. MBM 997, Haki foreshadowed in Chapter 1. Yeah, we talked about that. Chin, Viver cards. Yeah, so Ace just gives Luffy this piece of paper, right? And he just says arbitrarily that it'll bring us together at some point. And it does. The Viver card that Lola gives Nami, and saying that my mother is a famous pirate. We talked about this in the old theory stream. There was nobody in the community that didn't think that Lola was the daughter of Big Mom after that. But, that was foreshadowing set up in Payoff. We get to Whole Cake Island. Nami uses the Viver card to tremendous effect. Ace's Viver card is used to bring Luffy and Ace back together and set up Marineford. This Viver card that Sabo made of Luffy, which was then given to all of the Grand Fleet, will play a role. If you've seen my Vivi theory, you know that I expect either the Viver card that Sabo has or the ones that Sai and Leo has to be what brings Vivi back to the crew. Natty Light, Randy, I made it. How about them Knicks? Man. Oh. Nah, I'm not talking about the Knicks right now. Red X, you plan on doing a theory on the SSG? Basically, my theory on the SSG is that Vegapunk has figured out how to isolate the traits of a devil fruit. We've seen that with the pacifistas. We've seen that with the fruit that Momo ate. So the SSG, in my mind, are either powered-up Marines or robots that have some top-tier devil fruits. So either they took the lineage factor from Kizaru, like they did with the pacifistas, allowing them to use their laser beams. We could see other Marines or robots that have magma powers that they were able to extract the lineage factor from Akainu, and some of these other top tier Marines that have devil fruits, their lineage factor was taken and then used, and you just have an army of like admiral level fighters, and that's why they feel like they don't need the warlords anymore. speaking of the warlords, right? When Luffy fights Crocodile and he says, "I'm a member of the, Shichibukai. I'm a member of the 7 warlords of the sea." And then Luffy responds by saying, "Great. Well, then I'm the 8th warlord of the sea. I'm the Hachibukai." And then, of course, now he is the 5th Yonko. Yonko being 4 emperors, right? He's the Goko. So that's just kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Najib, do you have merch? It's coming soon, man. It's coming soon. I've been designing it. Now that we're at 11K now. We're going to. I'm gonna set up the store when I have some time. Yeah. $423 watching right now. 2 dislikes. Jeez. What, did I not talk about the foreshadowing that you liked? Let's see. Po'boy57, thank you.
Savage.
Set up Payoff with Bonnie's character. Yeah. Well, a setup and payoff with Bonnie to begin with is like when we're introduced to her, right? And she saves Zoro from the Celestial Dragons, like he's about to kill Charlos, right? That's a setup and a payoff for, setting up the tension for that, so that when we have that moment where Luffy actually does punch Charlos, it hits that much harder. That's foreshadowing for that. That's setup and payoff there with Bonnie. But as far as her character, she's a mysterious one for sure. We had that whole scene with her and Blackbeard, her and Akainu. Now she's at the Reverie with Kuma. The setup and payoff with Bonnie isn't going to come until we get that Kuma flashback or that Bonnie flashback. And we'll need to understand more about that. Maxo, I must return to my home planet. Yeah. The Poochie from Simpsons rules apply. I must go now. My planet needs me. Lucy B, what's up? Just came from my work shift. Welcome. Good to see you. Good to have you. We've been talking about a lot of foreshadowing today. Blue DC, Rayleigh foreshadowing Buggy's flashback. That was actually the first thing we talked about. That was pretty much the first thing that I talked about at the beginning of the stream. We're already an hour in now. Let's see. Red X, I think Awakening was foreshadowed or at least hinted at back in Impel Down. It was actually, as far as I'm concerned, hinted at back in Alabasta. Okay. In my mind, Crocodile is an awakened Logia user because he was able to affect the environment in ways that we really haven't seen a lot of. We've seen Aokiji was able to do the same thing. He froze all of Marineford. But Crocodile has a speech to Luffy where he talks about how Luffy, that there's ways of mastering your devil fruit. There's levels that you can go in it, and there's nothing in my mind other than Crocodile's talking about awakening there, So that's the first area. And someone actually brought it up in a comment, and I thought that it was actually really great, is when Luffy defeats Crocodile, the rubble and the ground actually sort of stretches so that Crocodile can get out. So that person was positing that Luffy had actually subconsciously used his awakening fighting Crocodile and altered the environment, allowing Crocodile to burst through the rubble, which I love. And will be fun if when Luffy actually masters Awakening, if it's something similar to that, where he just rubberizes the area around him and sort of turns everything into like a bouncy house or a bounce castle. You know, maybe you can even rubberize the air and create barriers in that way. Like, that would be ridiculous, but, you know, it's One Piece. Let's see. Crystal K, this is just a fun one. Luffy wants to buy a bronze statue from the money that they get in Skypiea. Now the statue is real in Oda's hometown. Yeah, and then when he also finds Kyros' statue, he gets, you know, really impressed by that also. Kaido-sama, are there good Tenryubito? So as far as Ancestral Dragons are concerned, we did. There's at least one good Celestial Dragon. You know, you go back to the Reverie, and Don Quixote. Oh man, chat, help me. Who's the guy in the Fishman Island flashback that Odahime saves and then comes back? He's let's see. Lucy B, did we already talk about the Klabauterman? No. And that's actually in my list. So when we're in Skypiea, right? Obviously, we learn that the spirit of Mary is alive. We see this image of someone fixing the ship, right? That was obviously clear foreshadowing, setup, and payoff for in Water 7 when we learn about the Klabauterman and, you know, Mary's spirit to begin with. And that's what allows us to sort of suspend our disbelief when Mary shows up to Annie's lobby to save everyone as well. And this is also probably a setup and a payoff for something later on with the Sunny and with other ships, and that, you know, different inanimate objects can have spirits. You know, and that's another thing that Usopp, you know, that's directly tied to Usopp, that he was able to see that. Could that have also been a part of his observation haki? You know, this is just something I'm thinking about now, you know, tinfoil, because really, he was the only one who saw the spirit, right? So could that be something there? Could that tie into something with the voice of all things? You know, now I'm going down the rabbit hole of does Usopp have the voice of all things because he saw Mary's spirit? But you know, that's interesting. That's interesting. Chin, you still have your list, Randy? Yeah, I do. It's here off to the side of everything. I've gone through most of it, though. Let's see, things that I didn't talk about. Roger's message in Skypiea, you know, and then we have the you know, when we get to Odin's flashback, you know, we actually see that play out, set up, payoff. Garp, right? We have all of this stuff with Garp. We're introduced to the idea that Luffy has a grandfather by Aokiji at the end of Long Ring Longland because he says that he owes his grandfather a favor, which we talked about in the old theory stream, led us to theorize for almost 2 years about, you know, who could Luffy's grandfather be and, you know, what what does that mean for the story, anything like that. And there's obviously the Romance Dawn, the original, the pilot, if you will, for One Piece that had Luffy's grandfather in it as a pirate, but the design is exactly the same as Garp. Garp was introduced into the cover story with Kobe and Helmeppo. He had a mask on so that we wouldn't recognize him from the original pilot of One Piece. And then he finally shows up, and lo and behold, Vice Admiral of the Marines drops a bunch of bombs on us. Yeah. Tells us that Dragon is Luffy's dad. Dragon was foreshadowed, right? Because we met him in Logetown. And we had no concept of the relationship that Dragon and Luffy had, but foreshadowing nonetheless. Why did this guy save him? Boom, we find out hundreds of chapters later. He saved him because that's his son. We talked about Sabo potentially being at Logetown. A recent one that came to pass, Zoro saying that he wanted to cut fire immediately when he sees Kinemon say it. Kinemon do it against Smiley, right? He says, I'm gonna need to learn that. And then later on when Kinemon does it again, he cut fire again. Every time Kinemon cut fire, we cut to Zoro being interested in it, right? Now, that's either something that happened in between, while Luffy and Co. were at Whole Cake. He might have been on Wano and said, hey, Kinemon, I need you to teach me this. Or because he trains so much with those baboons, the Humandrills, right, that can actually learn by watching, could it be that Zoro, Oda cutting to Zoro watching Kinemon every time that he does it, could that have been Oda hinting that Zoro was learning by watching? That's a possibility as well. And now we know, because we've seen Zoro has cut fire, so that's set up a payoff right there. Another example of future sight, Marineford, right? Mihawk is gonna slice Luffy's arms off, but Luffy gets a certain ping, and he sees the future. He sees a couple seconds into the future. If I do that, my arms are gonna get lopped off. So he retracts his arms, and he saves himself. People could argue it's regular observation, it's intuition, whatever. Maybe it's a reach, but I don't know. It's a possibility right there. And we talked about Mantra really essentially being future sight as well. And then we talked about the Sandersonia sisters, which would make sense, and it would also make sense if Hancock has future sight as well, right? Because she is supposed to be one of the most powerful people, as far as I'm concerned, in the verse, because she's got Conqueror's Haki, and it would just make sense. All right, going back to the chat here.
Savage.
Mojo Ryzen, thank you for the super chat. Randy Troy, I'd say my favorite bit of foreshadowing was Sanji's status of being a prince. Yeah, we talked about this at length. Obviously, there's the Mr. Prince stuff in Alabasta, him saying that he was from North Blue and Jaya, and being a fan of Nolan the Liar, him eventually reading that, everything that came out with him with the German Kingdom. It's great stuff. It's one of the best things that Oda has peppered around. If there was going to be a top 5 list of foreshadowing, Sanji would definitely crack that top 5 for sure. Joseph KC, how about the Mr. 3 instinct moment? Yeah, that's another chance for observation hockey. That's a good one. I like that. Maxo, thank you for the $10.
Savage.
I think Zoro's convo with Koshiro in his early flashback, the cut what you want to cut, don't cut what you want to convo, could foreshadow Zoro slicing through someone behind a hostage. That's interesting. And we could see that if Orochi eventually, gets a hold of Hiyori or anything like that, because we know that all of those storylines are tied in, and I think that that's where Zoro's story is going to go. He's going to be the one to finish off Orochi. He has said that he wanted to avenge Tonoyasu, so that's very possible. And even that dialogue in Alabasta, Koshiro telling him all of that, was set up and payoff for Ryo and everything like that, because it's pretty much echoed by Hyogoro in Udon. We talked about earlier how Alabasta, in that fight with Mr. 1 to begin with, was foreshadowing for all types of hockey, observation, armament, and Ryo. There is no way that Zoro beat Mr. 1 without subconsciously using armament hockey on his Shishi Son Son. And you will not convince me otherwise, unless you're Oda. Mjosgard. Yep, Don Quixote Mjosgard. That's who it was. Thanks, chat. That's the good celestial dragon. Alright, looking back at the chat. Lucy B said that the legend of Klabauterman comes from my part of my home country, and I must say that Frankie kind of retold it correctly. That's awesome. Oda does his homework. I love it. That's why we've got 438 people in here celebrating his storytelling right now. Let's see. The story originates from northern Germany, Hamburg, city of sailors in particular. Back in the day, I was so amazed seeing it in Skypiea. So, Lucy, did you immediately, obviously, being from Germany, did you immediately kind of put that together of that story? That's kind of cool. Because I certainly didn't know about it being in America until we got to Water 7 and got the explanation. King J, Randy, when Sanji was first introduced, he came to Nami with wine and a cigarette. Wine plus smoke equals Vin smoke. Vineyard smoke. I don't necessarily think that that's foreshadowing, but that's a fun thing. It's a fun thing. Rage Monstrosity, thank you for the super chat.
Savage.
When Luffy bet the water turtles in Alabasta, assuming the Kung Fu Dugongs, and they bow to him, and after Dressrosa's commanders get together, that felt really similar. That's interesting. Yeah, the Kung Fu Dugongs becoming disciples of Luffy as a little nod to eventually having a grand fleet. Yeah. Chin, Thriller Bark, Tactics 15, and General Frankie. Yeah, definitely. Definitely Tactics 15 being an offhand joke, foreshadowing Frankie eventually having a mech version of himself. Yeah. Po'boy57, thank you again.
Savage.
What bits of info have we gotten so far that you consider foreshadowing for the Void Century reveal? That's a good question. So, I mean, my headcanon for the Void Century, I guess, is like, we know that there was an ancient kingdom. We know that it was 800 years ago. You know, a lot of the foreshadowing for that is, you know, basically you have to go back to Robin's flashback. You know, and a lot of the dialogue that Clover was spitting in those chapters. That's the best foreshadowing that we've gotten for the Void Century reveal. You know, my headcanon basically is that, you know, there was an ancient kingdom, and there was prosperity and all of this, and then this other group of people, you know, these evil people or whatever that eventually became the Celestial Dragons, burnt the ancient kingdom down, and then oppressed the entire world, created the world government, started creating bridges, all this stuff, slaves, etc., and wiping out, you know, the fact that they basically committed genocide to put themselves into power. And I can't necessarily pinpoint all of the exact elements without actually going to manga panels and pulling them up and saying why I believe this stuff, but, you know, that's sort of where I'm going with all of it. Lucy said, yeah, we did know immediately. That's great. Yeah, Oda draws from a lot of legends. You know, I mean, you see it right now in Wano. There's so many folklores and everything. I bring them up in, you know, most of the videos that I do. You know, Momotaro is a huge one. And, but not only that, like, pretty much every character that we've met that's new in Wano relates to some sort of folklore or folktale. Even a lot of the scabbards themselves, you know, which is what led me to predict Ashura Doji's death, because of the folklore of Shuten Doji. And yes, I still believe that Ashura Doji is dead. The Renowned and Fabled, thank you for the super chat.
Savage.
And Mateo, thank you for the super chat.
Savage.
Hawkins is a Blackbeard spy. He was in his territory 2 years ago. You think so? When he defeated Brownbeard? Was that Blackbeard's territory? Which territory are you talking about? Because I have to remember that one. Shamali 2011, thank you for the super chat.
Savage.
Dan Roger, recently found your channel through Morge. Been a blast going through your content. Did Morge shout me out? I didn't know that. What did he mention me in a video or something? I'm curious to know. Let me know, Dan. Dan Roger, thank you. Let me know. And welcome to the channel. Yeah, still have over 400 people in here. We're still, you know, we've been talking for an hour and a half already, and, you know, we're still finding more foreshadowing that Oda has had in the series. You know, this is great. This is great. Although we are getting into more theory territory now here, I think, you know, we're starting to get into the things that have been set up but haven't been paid off yet. We talked a lot about the stuff that has been paid off, but now, you know, we got more here. Loggy Doggy in the house. Hey, what's up, man? Gold member PB says Ashura dying by explosion doesn't seem right, though. Nah, but, you know, it ties into the folklore. Not that there's an explosion in the folklore, but it all ties into that, and his story went full circle. Whereas there are a lot of characters that come back from the dead, but that's because their arcs were not finished. Another foreshadowing. The fact that Shirahoshi is Poseidon, right? And that Caribou overheard that, right? So Caribou heard that that was going to happen. That's foreshadowing. That's going to come back later at some point. We haven't had the payoff on that yet, but he's going to tell one of the emperors. I don't think it's going to be Kaido. I think it's either going to be Big Mom or it's going to be Blackbeard. Ryo says Food Volton was under Whitebeard at the time, but it's possible. Food Volton being that the island that Hawkins was on, I'm imagining. Lucy B. Oda's inspired by a lot of real legends and persons. Blackbeard himself is a good example. Yeah, for sure. You know, I mean, like, you look at the admirals, they were based on Japanese actors. A lot of the names that we have in One Piece, you know, Jewelry Bonnie, Anne Bonnie, Roronoa Zoro, Francois Lolonois, something, I'm butchering that name. Metal and Chin said that Morge mentioned me in his stream. Oh, okay, that's cool. What did he say? Oh, Renowned and Fable. Morge mentioned you during the teapot theory, said you were another good theorist. Oh, okay. Good to know, good to know. Thanks, guys. And we did get the Morge cameo in this this stream. Let's see. Stephen Bricino, have you guys talked about Luffy being God's natural enemy in Skypiea? No, but that's a great one, right? Obviously, we're told that, by Corazon, that the D are God's natural enemy. Monkey D. Luffy goes up against God Enel, right? And since he's rubber and he's lightning, he becomes his natural enemy. That's just, that's more of a callback. There's foreshadowing to it, but it's really more of a... I don't know if that's exactly foreshadowing as much as it is just good callback writing, good, it's just fun, it's just smart, it's intelligent. It's fun stuff. Evo Warrior, gotta go, been fun, Randy, thanks, see you later, Evo. Yep. The world, why is this channel still not 100,000 subscribers? Oh, that's a good question. Are there people in the chat that haven't subscribed yet? Dante Parker, RIP to Green Bull's voice actor, passed away before Green Bull got revealed. Yes. And I'm disappointed by that, because if there are any Hunter x Hunter fans in the chat, it's also the voice actor for Leorio, who's my favorite character from Hunter x Hunter. So it's going to be, if we ever actually get more Hunter x Hunter, and they start doing the the new arc and everything like that, they're going to have to get a new voice actor for Leorio, and that's sad. Reese says, Randy mentioned this earlier, but you missed that a very underrated foreshadow was Diable Jambe. Wanze used friction to engulf his skates on fire. and Sanji noticed it with the typical ... balloon. Wow. You know, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that because I actually never picked that up. That's awesome. And that's neat. That's cool. I like that. And even then, when all of that stuff happened in Water 7, Sanji's was the only move that came out of nowhere that I was like okay with. It sort of made sense. It sort of fit his character, whereas like Ashura was a bit of a leap for me to get behind, and Gear Second was it was fun, but I was like, have we earned this? Did we get enough with this? Rather than just having a dialogue where Aokiji, the fight with Aokiji made me think that I needed to, level up. But then, not really seeing that progress. That's one issue that I have. That's good. CP0, CP9, hi Randy, just popping in to show support. I'll watch the stream when you upload it later on. Cool. Thanks for dropping by. Maxo, respect for that character fave. Leorio is S+. Facts. Lucy B, Luffy's voice actor will maybe retire before the end of the series. She has spoken about that. She has like literally said to Oda, like, when is this going to stop? Because I want to retire. Let's see. Augustine. Randy, do you remember that Usopp foreshadowed his death in Little Garden? Him saying, I will die on an island as the bravest warrior. I mean, yeah, he said that. And a lot of his stuff comes true, but Usopp is a character that people think is going to die, but I don't think that Oda would do that. I don't think that he's going to kill Usopp, because Usopp is he said that Usopp is the voice of the reader, so if he kills Usopp, he's killing us. He's killing you. So I think Usopp is safe. We got a huge super chat. Wow. Tier 1 Will. My guy. Thank you.
Savage.
That's $100. Wow. Please put on your Savage Captain hat and be brutally honest with what world-building revelations must come to light before the end of Wano. All right, Savage Captain hat. World-building revelations that gotta come to light before Wano. Let's see. Well, we need to know more about this connection between CP0 and Vegapunk, right? We know that CP0 is on Onigashima right now. We know that they're tied to Vegapunk. We know that there's that connection with Orochi. Superficially, I want the closed loop on whether or not Tama is a Kurozumi, what her past is all about. As far as the Reverie is concerned, there's so much world building potential there. We need to know who the death was. We need to know. The chat is it. Yeah, spoiler warnings for anybody that's anime only. All right. we need to know who the death was. We need to know what the attempted assassination was. I still believe that the thing that makes the most sense is Cobra died. Vivi was the attempted assassination. Vivi escaped either with Sabo, if he's not captured, or with Sai and Leo, and they are on, and she is on her way using a Viver card to come back to the crew. Alabasta is going to have a power vacuum, and she is not going to be able to return to Alabasta because Cobra will be dead. She'll be labeled a criminal because Wapol will have called Big News Morgans and labeled her as a pirate and have told the world that she's a member of the Straw Hats. So that'll happen. Hancock is going to get captured and turned back into a slave, which is going to lead us into the final war because Luffy's going to have to get Hancock back. So that's going to shake up the world. Kobe will probably feel responsible for it. It's not going to be the result that he wanted, especially when he finds out that, she's close to Luffy, which is going to make his plight and sword even stronger. I want more information on Sword. I need a scene between Law and Drake. So, gotta feed my agenda. We need the Kaido flashback to learn a little bit more about God Valley, potentially. Learn about rocks. See Garp, the hero. Garp, the legend. Garp use a certified Haki trip punch, right? That's why he was Garp the Fist. We need some more information on the ancient weapons. Is Blackbeard going off to find one of them? Zoro's past. Is he a Shimotsuki? What is he? What's the point? What are his ties to Wano? I feel like that's probably going to come in an epilogue, and then we'll be able to go back in all of Wano, and we'll see. We'll understand. Some things will hit harder, but at the same time, things probably might have hit all the same if we learned about the stuff earlier on. I'm looking at the chat right now. Let's see. Someone's saying pronounce Tyrone. Is that what it is? It's Tyrone will, not Tier 1 will. I mean, that would make sense, I guess. And it's clever. Let's see. I mean, this is kind of in keeping with everything. This is a foreshadowing thing, but now we're just talking about things that have been set up that haven't been paid off yet in Wano. And toward the end of the series. We need to know where Kaido's poneglyph is, right? His road poneglyph. Because that's going to have world-building revelations. We need to learn more about Toki and the Void Century. Why was she jumping across time? Is the person in the storeroom Toki? Is it Hiyori? If it's Toki, that's going to set up a whole other, thing with more time travel shenanigans. So, yeah. And, you know, we need the attempt of TTK. Oh, man. This hat doesn't really fit me. I'm not really a hat guy, guys. But the man said, put the hat on. And then I looked around, and lo and behold, I did have a hat nearby. I hope that was a good enough answer. Alexander with a super chat, thank you.
Savage.
Kanjuro used human hair for his brushes. Oh man. Popo Zao. Kanjuro used human hair for his brushes, and Kanjuro took away Yasu's body, who was known for his hair. Foreshadowing using Yasu's hair for his brush. Yeah, this has been a big theory. You know, Kanjuro did take the body. We're like, okay, so what's going to happen? You know, and we see Kanjuro with a blue-haired brush. That's going to be wild and grotesque. But I do expect something to happen with that, because why were we told that he steals human hair, and then we see him have Yasu's body? So yeah, I do see that coming back into play, potentially. With his fight with Kinemon. TDI fan 2021, you're still alive. Yes, I'm still alive, and yes, there are still 400 people in here. So, yep, we're going. It's the weekend, guys. It's an off week. We can sit here, we can hang out for a little bit, but I think we might be running out of foreshadowing. Let's see. Maxo says, I can see it, but I don't want Hancock to be in a captive situation, to be honest. I don't necessarily want something like that either, but there is foreshadowing for it. She was a former slave. She was the introduction to the mark of the Celestial Dragon, so it only makes sense that Oda brings that back in that way. Let's see. George asks, is Sabo really going to die? I don't think so. Oda's not going to... he's not going to do both brothers like that. Zoro sends the direction. Randy, what are your end-of-series ships? I mean, I'm not really big on ships or anything like that, but, I mean, like... Luffy and Vivi, Rebecca and Kobe, Zoro and Hiyori. I don't really care about anything else. Ryo, got work in an hour. Take care, everyone. Later, man. Thanks for dropping by. Let's see. Cairo-san, he said, out for today, but keep on killing it, Randy. Thank you.
Savage.
Appreciate it. Maxo said, whose will did I inherit for that hat? That's good. Reese says, even the 5-0 is coming for Randy for spoiling One Piece. Oh, man. Chin. Yeah, no, I've used up my list, so now we're just sort of like going off of other things. We're theorizing. I've talked about all of the stuff that came to my head. I'm sure we're close to hour 2 here, and we're still coming up with foreshadowing things. This is something that we could even probably do a whole other stream on and still come up with other stuff. I think everything's done on my original list. I'm probably going to end the stream pretty soon. But I do want to remind everybody in here that live action part 4 is done. I did finish it last night, so I do want to release that soon. But since so many people in the last stream wanted me to do this and do the foreshadowing stream, I wanted to, get this out while it's still our break and everything. But I know that a lot of people, obviously the live action stuff is the most requested stuff on the channel, and I definitely go in on the editing with those. This one's going to be another one on casting. I've got my choices that I've picked, and then I play a video of who they are. All right, the video is like 28, almost 30 minutes long, but it spans a lot of Baroque works, a lot of drum, East Blue picks that people wanted me to talk about. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to set it as a premiere so that we can have a chat going forward as well. And I'm excited for that. So let me know in the chat, guys, if you want, if tomorrow or Monday is better. Do you want to let this stream breathe a little bit and then do live action sometime during the week before the chapter comes out? Or do you want to do, back to back sort of? I mean, it's not really going to be a stream, but we're going to have the chat going and all that. So let me know what you guys want to do. Taya says, how about Ace and Pedro lying Sanji's death cigarettes? Yeah, we actually talked about that earlier, but then, to combat that, Anel did light his cigarette as well, and he is not dead. If he does die, then yes, that's a thing. Reese said, Randy, you've been a father for like 4 months, and you're already a better parent than Usopp. Respect. Appreciate that. Yeah. Piccolo from Namek, did the Revolutionary Army save Sanji and Zeph? That'd be interesting. Was there anything in that flashback that clued you into that? First mate Rayleigh, the egg on the Oro Jackson is a hell of a mystery, but I want to know when Geku Moria is hitting Wano and why there are no strings in Wano for Zoro. Yeah, the egg on the Oro Jackson is a big mystery that's been set up with no payoff yet. Moria, if Moria comes to Wano, that's a, that would be something that has been foreshadowed as well. Really, even if Blackbeard comes to Wano, we need to figure out who the Nine Shadows are. Are they the Straw Hats? Are they the Scabbards? Are they a mix of Straw Hats, Scabbards, and the Alliance? Are the Nine Shadows the Blackbeard Pirates? This is all stuff that could happen. Things that we can learn in an act break that will set things up and come into fruition. It's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff to do. Alright, a lot of people are saying tomorrow, so I think we'll do live action part 4 tomorrow. So that'll be fun. I just have to work on the thumbnail today. Better father than Usopp and Goku. Randy, God tier, Troy in the building. Thank you, Forrest. And thank you. I don't have to strive very hard to be a better father than Goku. I really just have to be there. Chin wants chapter 1200 spoilers. All right. Elijah said, what Nine Shadows? I'm talking about Toki's prophecy, that the Nine Shadows will come and save Wano. We need payoff for Emu. Yep. Jin, Part 4 is on casting. Part 5 will be on Haki. Haki in the live action. Hildeline asked, "Are you getting a baby?" I already have one. He's about to be 4 months old. So a lot of the people that have been with the channel for a bit know about the journey. John Luca, does Lucci have Conqueror's Haki? Probably not, but I'm pretty sure he does have Rio, because Roku Ogon was like a foreshadowing of Rio. Yep. So I think I'm going to start wrapping everything up here, guys, because we're at the 2-hour mark. That's kind of where we normally drop everything off. So last questions in the chat, last things you want to talk about. Go for another couple of minutes here, and then that's it. And then I hope to see everybody for live action Part 4 in the chat tomorrow. Hildeline, congratulations. Thank you. I'm very excited. Very, very happy. Very blessed. Elijah, do I still think that the raid will fail? I still think that the raid should fail. Will it? I don't know. All of this stuff with Luffy, versus Kaido and everything, and how confident he is, and Conqueror's Haki, and all this other stuff, it's looking pretty good. But you can still have a disaster without the raid necessarily failing. Like, the raid can fail and everything can still... the raid can work and fail at the same time. Like, they can beat Kaido, but if they don't beat Big Mom, and Big Mom takes someone's soul or kills someone, that's still a failure, But it's also a win because Wano is saved, because Big Mom's not going to bother with Wano. So I still want drama. I still want devastating things to happen. I still want to see deaths happen. I still want to see consequences. Not that I necessarily want to see this stuff, but it's like, that's what makes the story so good. You go back and you think about all the moments you remember, all of the good moments and everything, all the impactful moments. A lot of people would say Marineford. A lot of people would say the drama in Water 7, Usopp leaving, Robin leaving, Robin coming back, Hiriluk's death, Belmir's death. The dramatic moments when Oda really puts his Savage hat on, and does those dramatic things. That's when the story is at its best. So I want more of that. Sabaody, everybody getting split up, like, that was amazing. I need something like that again. I need it. Water Lemonish, thanks for the stream. Appreciate it. Appreciate you dropping by. Surge 1500, did I catch your super chat? Did I miss it? Oh, I did miss it. Sorry.
Savage.
Pearl lit Sanji's cigarette, and the Craig pirates are all presumed dead, so that's technically 3. Yeah, but that's still not confirmed. And Gin did say that he would meet them again. So you know what? That's foreshadowing. That's a setup without a payoff yet, and I expect it to pay off. Gin's coming back. God tier Gin. Let's see. Bernardo, Randy, do you still think it's possible for us to have a mini slice of life arc with more comedy and interactions between the Straw Hats? I've said plenty of times that I would love to have that. Like, my timeline for everything, like, I feel like we still need, I know that Oda's got the pedal, he's got his foot on the gas as far as, like, finishing the series. And some of these events that are going to take place, it's going to be very hard for the pedal to get off of the gas once it starts going. So it makes that difficult. But I've said countless times that, I don't want it to be, an ABC to the end right now. Whereas, like, we finish Wano, we go to Elbaf, we go to Lodestar, we have the final war at New Marineford, and then an epilogue, and that's it. I want to see another wrench thrown into the story where we do have some sort of slice of life thing. I would love another like Davy backfight sort of arc, or even another sort of Zoe type arc, because that was the closest thing that we got to something like that in the post-time skip era, was Zoe. That was sort of the unexpected mini arc that was fun and all that, and it opened the world up a lot, but at the same time it was just like, it was something different. It wasn't on exactly the path that we were expected to go on, necessarily. So I want to see something like that. Just one more island that we didn't really know about would be great. Just one more. All right. Okay. Maxo, I think we're going to get a lighthearted, bittersweet Lodestar, similar to how the Roger Odin flashback was. That's interesting. I mean, and if you've been watching the anime now, Lodestar does sort of seem like a nice, relaxed island as well. So, yep. Galaxy Vita, the Emerald City. Yeah. We still need to see the Emerald City. Bellamy mentioned it in Jaya, and I'd love to see that. Even if they just make a movie about it. Census. Hey, Troy, big fan here. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming by. Just some more foreshadowing points. Whitebeard Medicine having Dofi's logo. Yep. Showing that, he's the broker for even medicine, right? Jinbei mentioned 500 chapters before his appearance. Yeah, we talked about Jinbei a little bit, but I did not mention that. Yeah. Obviously Jinbei and Fishman Island themselves were both mentioned, like in the on the way to Arlong Park and in Arlong Park. So that's crazy. That's crazy. The third sake cup and Luffy's flashback. Yep. And then not only that, also the cover page where we see the graves, and this is before Sabo, came back. We saw that there were 3 sake cups in front of Ace's grave, signifying that Sabo was alive. A lot of people already. I never thought that Sabo was gonna die. I was like, Oda's gonna make a replacement brother. He's gonna do it, and he did it. Nope. Was the island that Shanks and Buggy were dropped off on Lodestar? I think that's sort of everybody's headcanon. I don't know if it's necessarily confirmed, but it's a possibility there. All right, Andrew Hunter, thanks for the stream, Randy. Gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here too, guys. I want to thank everybody that has been here, everybody that suggested doing this. This was fun, getting together on a break week and having an intellectual conversation about foreshadowing and just sort of geeking out and honoring Oda and his masterful storytelling, So thanks again, everybody. Tomorrow we'll do this again. I'll set up the premiere for live action part 4. I'm excited to see what everybody thinks of that video, and then we'll be back next week for 10-11. Good stuff, fun stuff. Augustine says, "Oh, don't go. Don't worry. It's not forever. I'll be back." All right. Appreciate it, guys.
Savage.
Yep. All right. And if you're still in here and you haven't subscribed or liked or done any of that YouTube stuff, be sure to do that too. All right? Later, everybody.